Hey, what is up guys, this is Yusuf Shah from TECHDROIDS and welcome back to a brand new video on the channel. And Motorola launched their new devices yesterday, the Moto G5s and the G5s Plus, and they kind of fall into that high-end budget market because they have dual cameras, really good battery life, and they also have some flaws. So here are my opinions on the G5s and the G5s Plus, and also the pros and cons and why you should be buying these or why you should not be buying these after that intro. So let's get started. So these are high-end budget devices, so they are pretty affordable, and they're really minorly upgraded from last year from their predecessors, that is the Moto G5 and the G5 Plus. So starting off with the G5s, it has a Snapdragon 430 which is available for under $200 or even $150 if you are to search in the market in Xiaomi devices. And it's coupled with 3 GB of RAM and the Adreno 505 GPU. So performance is pretty mediocre for a price of $295. So at a price where you can get the Snapdragon 820 Z2 Plus from Lenovo, you're getting a Snapdragon 430. Moving on, you have a 16 megapixel rear camera and a 5 megapixel front camera. Pretty good, and the cameras will perform really well, and they will beat most of the devices under that $300 price bracket because Motorola is known to do that with their G series devices. Next up, moving on, we have a 5.2-inch Full HD display which is IPS, so not the best and the sharpest display, not AMOLED, so you will be having a pretty decent display. It's completely made out of metal, it's a unibody aluminum design, and it's kind of improved from last year, so it's still metal. And packing or powering this phone is a 3000 mAh battery that supports quick charge and is pretty good. It's 3000 mAh, so Motorola stock software upon Android 7.1.1 Nougat will do a pretty good job. This phone will be smooth enough, but don't expect this to be a performance beast because it's not. It is not the best gaming phone, and when you're spending $295, you expect a quality of performance which Motorola doesn't seem to offer with the G5s. And also there's 32 GB of storage on board. And this is priced at $295 as I said, or 245 euros or 18,800 rupees in India. It might come at a cheaper price in India, but the US pricing is $295. Next up, moving on with the G5s Plus, this is packing the Snapdragon 625, same as the last year's G5 Plus, 4 GB of RAM, Adreno 506 GPU, 64 GB of onboard storage, 5.5-inch Full HD display, again IPS, fingerprint scanner, again full unibody aluminum design. This time around again you have the 3000 mAh battery, but this time you have 13 megapixel rear dual cameras. One is a color sensor, one is a monochrome sensor. It has portrait mode and better low light performance with that f2.0 aperture, and that's the same for the G5s if I forgot mentioning that. Again, Android 7.1.1 Nougat flanked by that Motorola UI which is pretty stock with some minor upgrades which are pretty useful. Again, micro USB, quick charge supported, there's NFC as well, 3.5mm jack, light, water and dust resistance, there is no rating. So yeah, it's like a few splashes will not do anything to the phone. Next up, let's talk pricing, and this is priced at $349 US, and that's pretty expensive, or 23,000 rupees in India. Again, might come at a cheaper price in India. Now let's talk about the pros and cons. Starting off the pros, performance on the devices will be decent, and the performance actually is a con as well, but we'll get to that later. Next up, battery life, that will be pretty good with that stock experience, power efficient chips, and not that high-end displays. And NFC is on board, really good camera quality, and build quality also can be a pro. Now moving on to the con side, pricing. It's pretty overpriced for what you'll get, and it's just not worth it. Won't recommend buying this phone. Just get something else from Honor, Xiaomi, Motorola themselves have some really good devices, and maybe try Samsung in that price range. Moving on to the next con is no water and dust resistant rating. If I'm paying $350, I expect to have some sort of rating, maybe IP68, 67, or just some sort of rating that guarantees that I will not have my phone ruined if there's a drop of water on it. Next con again happens to be performance. 430, Snapdragon 430 and Snapdragon 625 for $295 and $350. Are you kidding me, Motorola? What are you up to? My 5-year-old Galaxy S3 has a Snapdragon My 5-year-old Galaxy S3 will perform better than a Snapdragon 430 when it comes. My 5-year-old Galaxy S3 has a quad-core processor and 1 gig of RAM, and I feel it will perform better than that Snapdragon 430. And that's one more con, guys. And next con is there's no USB Type-C, and I'm again paying $350. If I were to pay a little more, I can get the iPhone SE. If I were to pay again a little more, you can get the OnePlus 3 or the OnePlus 3T and still get better performance. I can get something from Lenovo, I can get something from Xiaomi, but why will I go for Motorola when you're offering me a Snapdragon 430? And yeah, that's all the outrageous things that I had to tell about the Moto G5s and the G5s Plus. They're not bad phones, but Motorola, you missed out on the pricing. You should have priced them a little more cheaper, a little more affordable. And yeah, the phone itself becomes a con when you see the pricing. And that's been it, guys. Drop this video a big thumbs up. Get subscribed to TECHDROIDS. Hope you enjoyed this new setup. This is not permanent, just for a few videos. And yeah, guys, I'll catch you guys in the next one.